Hey everybody, I am Brent, and this is the Booms Room, and I'm going to talk about wrestling because that's what I do here. Um, so I went to the MLW Lucha Apocalypto show in Cicero slash Chicago, Illinois, last Saturday. That's it. All right, last Saturday. Normally, I try and I like to do these things after I get back. Granted, I'm tired and I'm a little bit rambly because I'm tired. But this one was quite a haul back. Not that you care about that, but like I did not get back until the show started late. Um, and I became so it ran later than scheduled, and it was snowing outside, so it took a lot longer to get home, and the roads were garbage and whatever. So, anyways, here I am now to talk about it. That's okay. It gives people a little bit more breathing room between the shows and whatnot. MLW is kind of on a weird what do you want to call it? A weird distribution schedule right now. I think they're trying to find their footing on the ground. They relaunched MLW Fusion. At least I think they relaunched it. I haven't heard about it in a while, but then all of a sudden they started talking about it again. I I have no idea how to watch MLW Fusion. If anybody does, let me know in the comments. I know they just did Battle Riot in Orlando like a week before Lucha Apocalypto, and then they showed it the day or two before. I think it was 2 days before. I think they showed it on Thursday night because I watched it Friday. Um, and then my cat is acting crazy. Okay. I watched it Friday and then for the show, so I was prepared for the show. So I had some sort of idea what was going on in MLW World on Saturday. Um Long story longer. This was all taped for MLW Fusion. I don't know when it's going to air. I apologize for MLW if there's spoilers on here that you don't want getting out there, but I feel like most of the stuff I've seen online already. I know like the title changes have changed on their Wikipedia and stuff like that. And I don't have that much of an audience in the first place. So but I do appreciate anybody that is watching this. And if you're new, like, subscribe. I like talking about wrestling, and you probably like listening to wrestling. Otherwise, you would have tuned this out long ago. Um, so I'm going to start off with talking about going to the show. First things first. The MLW does meet and greets. They did a lot of meet and greets. They had, I think, about 10 different ones. And I prices are fair, but they're not like encompassing. They're not like, oh my god, I'm gonna meet everybody on the roster fair, if that makes sense. Because you're paying, I got third row. It was like $36 for my seat, after fees and whatnot. But GA tickets were $13 to get in. For a meet and greet, like in my case, met Blue Panther, the absolute legend. Um, which I was gonna show the picture, but I don't have it here. It's in my Jeep still. So that won't happen. But anyways, I met Blue Panther and it cost $40, which is, pretty fair for meeting Blue Panther, an absolute legend of lucha libre, and like that's cool. But then like you're adding like, okay, well, it's $60 to be Mystico, and it's like $50 to meet Dijak, and $60 to be Bishop Dyer, and $60 to meet Shotzi, and it's just like that adds up to be a lot of money very quickly. So you kind of have to pick and choose and whatever. And I haven't done a lot of. I've done a few meet and greets with them. I got my. I did Satoshi Kojima last year and got some signed bread from him here. That's a fun little item. I got a fake loaf of bread saying from a craft store, and then Kojima signed it. Um, Doesn't look the best signature wise because it's a little bit lumpy, but hey, sometimes you got to get a loaf of bread signed by Satoshi Kojima, and you got to do the best that you can do. So anyways, I've done that in the past, but yeah, this one I'm like, you know what? I think doing like one is fair and it adds to the experience and whatever. Obviously, if you have the money, go nuts because these things are great and like pretty fair pricing. Really, when you're talking about going to a WrestleCon or whatever, you're probably spending the exact same amount of money. So I'm at Blue Panther. Couldn't hear worth a crap. Yes for nombre. And so I gave him my name, and he could not understand anything I was saying. The guy was trying to translate the letters into Spanish, no fucking clue. I ended up writing on a piece of paper. He ended up writing down Brant, uh, which is fine. I've been called worse. And signed his name on there, and that was pretty cool. I've got a signed picture for Brent from Blue Panther, and I will cherish that forever. Even though it's still in my Jeep, I do cherish it. I just forgot to bring it in. It was a busy week. That's why I'm here now. It took me a week to do this. So, anyways, I gotta get going here. We gotta go. We gotta talk about the show. All right. So MLW, this is where I sat on the third row. The weird thing was these barricades right here. I know you can't really see me pointing, but the barricades were like really stupid high. Don't like that. That was kind of weird. It didn't end up really affecting too much, but it was. I can't imagine, like, especially like that little girl in the front row, like having that giant barricade in front of her, like just seems kind of like a weird call. I don't know why. I don't like barricades for wrestling shows in the first place. I know they have a spot in the wrestling world, especially when you get to bigger promotions because people are weird. But like, man, those barricades were a little too tall. And even then, like, there's a few times where wrestlers, brawled out into the crowd, and it just felt like they had to like really fucking hike over these barricades, and it just felt like really weird. I don't know if they were the stadiums or what was going on with them. I feel like when I sat front row at the Progress and Evolve show and they had barricades up, it wasn't nearly that bad. So I don't know, but I would recommend to them to smaller barricades, please, because those were a little ridiculous. Show started off Jesus Rodriguez, this guy. He came out. You can see him in the picture probably better than you can on my action figure form. Here we go. There he is. But Jesus Rodriguez came out and talked, gave a little intro in Espanol, and because I'm a gringo, I'm not really sure what he said, but the people in the crowd liked it, so that was cool. It was a very heavy CMLL focused Mexican wrestling crowd in attendance. There were a few of us gringos, but a lot of the crowd was there for like Mystico and the CMLL guys, which makes sense, and that's how they saw at the stadium. Like literally, they did not announce a single match, and they sold out Cicero Stadium just based on basically Mystico being on the card. After that, the show started with Killer Cross, the new MLW champion. He came out and he talked about stuff, and he came out Scarlet, of course, as you can see in the picture. Let me switch over to this just because I like having fun with action figures. I wish they would have released a new Killer Cross in WWE. They released the basic of him, which was weird. I mean, it's fine, but they kind of had the shorter, longer hair, if that makes sense. Never got to the full like level of Killer Cross. That whatever. That's not important right now. Killer Cross, Scarlet came out. Obviously, big. The I'm not gonna lie. MLW's got a kind of a weird eclectic roster. They kind of have a bunch of WWE outcasts. They kind of have they have their CMLL guys. They kind of have this weird blend of people, and they have some up and comers. I wish I would have seen more in the up and comers demographic, but that's okay. But yeah, Killer Cross came out. Scarlett talked a little bit. Killer Cross talked for a little bit then too, and a lot of Killer Cross's message came around to like, hey. These are tough economic times. I really appreciate the fans for coming out. Some of this resonated with me, especially because he was talking about like fans that would drive for, hours to get to the shows or fly in to go to the venues or whatever. And obviously, I've done a few wrestling traveling things throughout my day here. So like that, some of that stuff kind of really resonated with me because like, yeah, I do. I do that. So, uh, good promo, good solid baby face, like rah rah. I like the fan sort of promo, but that's totally fine, especially when you're the new champion. And then at the end of it, he said, "Welcome to the new beginning." So I don't know if that was just a little homage to Triple H and just saying it was a new era in MLW or what, but you know what? If this was a new beginning for MLW, it wasn't without its flaws when you go through the show here, as I will. It wasn't without its flaws, but there is a lot of potential for some good here. And that's really kind of in that landscape of the companies like TNA, like MLW, even, an NWA or a Juggalo Championship Wrestling, even. There's going to be some not good things. There's going to be some questionable decisions. There's going to be some people on the roster that you might not necessarily be a fan of. But ultimately, it's an alternative wrestling product, and it's hard in the wrestling business to put together a good show. They had a lot of talented individuals on this show, whether you like them, whether you don't. There's some wrestlers on the show that I'm not particularly a fan of, but you know what? They put together a pretty solid roster of individuals when it comes down to it. So, welcome to the new beginning of MLW. I'm completely for that. If Battle Riot, if 2026, if this MLW Fusion thing is a new beginning for MLW, hey, sign me up. I'm intrigued at the very least. I want to see some of what they got going on, and this was a pretty good show. Let me run through the matches. I'll try to do it fairly quickly because you don't want to hear every armbar and headlock that goes on. First match was Shotzi Blackheart. She came out. Good way to start the show. Everybody gets hot for Shotzi. Big over baby face on both in MLW and just on the indies in general at this point. People love some Shotzi. She and Mystico by far had the biggest lines of people, and I don't blame them. Like good person. As you can see, if you're watching if you're paying attention to me, she was wrestling Shoko Nakajima for the MLW Women's Championship, and as you can see from the action figure here, spoiler alert, she may have won the title because she's got it on her. I'm not holding that very well in frame. There we go. All right, there's Shoko Nakajima coming out with the women's belt. Love the big kaiju. I was cheering for Shoko Nakajima. I'm not gonna lie, just because I think that she's a really good wrestler, and I think that like it adds a little bit of I like when they've got a MLW, as I talked about, they've got a good relationship with CMLL. They also have a pretty good relationship with Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, which Shoko Nakajima is from. So I kind of like that. Like, oh hey, we actually get to see some TJPW wrestlers as well on the show, which is kind of a fun wrinkle into things. Um, but maybe MLW had to cut back on its travel budget, or maybe they had to, they do have like I said, they do have a pretty solid roster of individuals. Maybe they had to cut back on Shoko's flights, or maybe they're just going to keep bringing her in, but kind of have her play lots of her role as champion, and maybe it's time to hot shot Shotzi to the championship, hot Shotzi the championship onto her. That's fine with me. Too. I got no money in the game. I don't care. Shotzi's a deserving champion though. At the end of the day, like let's be real. This was a really cool move. Shoko went for the 619. Shotzi ducked out, but then Shoko readjusted, went to the rope underneath, and hit that move. That was pretty sweet. That was a good shit right there. But yeah, I mean, Shotzi makes a lot of sense as being your women's champion. She's very popular, very over the ground, and sometimes that momentum dies if you don't make a move right away. And it kind of makes sense. Put the belt on her. Everybody likes Shotzi. It just makes sense at the end of the day. This video clip does not want to load. I don't even think that was the finish. I don't know. I think this was the finish actually. We'll see if it loads. I probably should like start preloading these into the stream, but I'm barely figuring this stuff out, guys. Anyways, Shotzi wins the championship. We're gonna keep going here. There you go, Shotzi holding the belt. Holding the belt again. and standing on the corner holding the belt. Good stuff there. Shotzi is your new MLW. I believe it's featherweight. Is it just World Women's Champion? No, featherweight something else. I think that was it called featherweight. I feel like there was like a more MMA title. Shotzi grabbed the microphone after the match, I should add, and after the match, she kind of rah baby face, I won the championship kind of speech. But then she also said that she was going to go monster hunting, um, which was kind of weird. But what could that mean? We'll probably find out in a little bit here. I got to run through this stuff. Next match, Diego Hill, new up and comer in the wrestling scene, took on Místico. And this was not the only Místico match we got tonight, which was that night, which was pretty exciting. It's this Opera Cup that he won 2 times in a row. So yeah, good ass match here between Místico and Diego Hill. I don't think I grabbed a lot of footage and stuff just because I was kind of like into the match. I know it was fairly short, but they did a great ass job of putting over Diego Hill. Like they really made Diego Hill look solid in this match, and I think he's got a bright future. You could read some tea leaves throughout the show, especially with something that happened a little bit later. That maybe and after this match too, maybe Diego Hill's got a big future here in MLW, which if he does, absolutely deserves it. Heck of a wrestler. Um, Mystico, of course, got the win over Diego Hill, but Mystico did talk into the microphone. He kind of like stuck the mic underneath his mask, which was kind of a weird way of doing it, but hey, it worked for him. And definitely put him over on the way out, and said some very kind things about Diego Hill. And there's Diego Hill. Diego Hill came out with Blue Panther, establishing a relationship with them. I'm not sure if that was a pre-existing relationship or a relationship convenient for this show, because after this match, Austin Aries came out and was doing like a little promo deal, and this guy, he came out and was doing a little promo deal and challenged Blue Panther for the MLW National Championship after the or for later on in the show, which Blue Panther accepted. Um, Next match was the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows. Of course, everybody knows the Good Brothers. You got the Good Brothers here. You got their super 7 figures here, which were weird figures, but I kind of like them. And you have them taking on the MLW Tag Team Champions, which didn't really get much of an introduction because the Good Brothers attacked them. You got Dijak, you got Bishop Dyer, the Skyscrapers, the MLW Tag Team Champions. And they faced each other in a tables match because hey, it's a good way to get the crowd hot and keep the crowd hot after the Mystico match. This match featured a lot of brawling throughout the crowd. Didn't really get a lot of good video footage from this because none of the fighting was really kind of around me. But yes, good stuff here. Just a good brawl. It was a tables match, but it was the kind of tables match where you needed to throw both tag team participants through the tables. So so we got lots of table action. I think they broke 3 tables in this match. But yeah, really fun back and forth tag team match here. Dijak, Bishop Dyer playing the heels. Dijak telling people to suck it. Bishop Dyer flipping people off. They were trying to get all sorts of heel heat. Some of it was like not even deserved because people weren't freaking out that badly to them, but they were trying to get that heat, man. There's there's Anderson firing back up after nearly getting put through the table. Yeah, really just like I said, a fun tables match between these two teams. Well, all these guys, they're not like people that I would necessarily put in. If I was booking a wrestling show, I wouldn't necessarily be like, oh man, I got to get the Good Brothers and I got to get Bishop Dyer and Dijak, just because like I like all these guys. They're all fine, but they're not like people that I absolutely love watching wrestle. Um, but in a setting like this, it worked perfectly. There's Luke Gallows going all sorts of crazy. He got busted open early in this match. Was going to go for a double choke slam. Obviously, that didn't pay off very well for old LG, and he got choker slammed through the table, as my son used to say when he was tiny and watched wrestling. Um, Took a lot of pictures in this match. Holy shnikes. There's Bishop Dyer going through a table. We got Anderson and Dijak here facing off, and Bishop Dyer, of course, gets involved in the match. And then we got Dijak just chucking that fucker through the table. I don't know what you call that, but choke, whatever. He choked him through the table. Skyscrapers keep the MLW tag team titles. The next match was Alan Angels coming out, which I love me some Alan Angels. I'm not ashamed to say it. And speaking of which, congrats to Alan Angels for showing up on the TNA pre-show last night, taking on Frankie Kazarian. Got a really good showing on Alan Angels. That was good to see. We got there's more Allen Angels, and of course his opponent, the new MLW. Why am I middleweight champion? That's right, the MLW middleweight champion Kushida, who at the Battle Riot show turned heel and joined Contra, which is kind of an interesting twist because Kushida is not really ever a heel anywhere. So an interesting twist there, and he came out wearing like sweatpants and no wrestling boots, but he still did the time, still had to check his time on his hand. But but Kushida debuting a new look here. He's got the belt on him, the weird like strappy belt thing, because that's what heels and Contra wear, I guess. But solid match here between Kushida and Alan Angels. Alan Angels at one point was kind of like, because the crowd was pretty hot for Kushida, and like they liked Kushida still, even though he was heel. And Alan Angels at one point was kind of like, "Hey, I'm the baby face here, cheer for me!" Like, but uh, who doesn't love Kushida? So I apologize for Alan Angels. I mean, I was cheering for Alan Angels, but I do feel bad for him. But of course, Kushida retained the championship by putting on the hoverboard lock or whatever kind of contract thing they're going to start calling that. And then after the match, they had a Contra shirt. Kushida, this I don't know what the hell happened because I haven't been a MLW hardcore loyalist, and I don't know if this was set up or not. But Okamura is apparently part of Contra, which is kind of shocking to me. But he came out with Kushida, and then for some reason put on a Contra shirt afterwards, even though he's clearly like had a different look. Let me see if I can go back here. He kind of had a different look with the different colors, and he kind of had like a line on his face and stuff like that. But then he put on a Contra shirt like he was turning heel at that point, but he's already helping out Kushida during the match. I'm not sure exactly what was going on here, but that was going on, I guess. But yes, Okamura, there's the line. You can see the line on his face a little bit better there. But Okamura joined Contra, I guess, or rejoined Contra, or put on a Contra shirt and they celebrated. I don't know, but either way, Kushida is still your middleweight champion of MLW. Next match. This one is the one that kind of gained a little bit of traction online. We got Josh Bishop taking on Matthew Justice in a Chicago street fight because you can't have a wrestling show in Chicago without a Chicago street fight. There's Joe John Browski. I took a picture of him just for fun. There's one person that knows why I did that, and I will just leave it there. Anyways, these two are brawling all throughout the arena. This was the thing that kind of went viral, if you will, online. Matthew Justice was climbing up on the guardrail. Don Gatto is up there, who has got a tequila brand and has been a sponsor with MLW for the past couple of months here, and obviously shilling his product. I don't know why he's like there in a king's chair, but whatever. He gave some to Matthew Justice to drink out of. Matthew Justice was on top of the guardrail, and then the guardrail, as he was jumping off of it, broke. So yeah, and I don't have a shot of the tables. Josh Bishop was down there. He was on a table. Luckily, there was a table in front of him. Uh, luckily, um, because the table in front of him is the one that Matthew Justice went through. If there wasn't a table there, I mean, he would have hit the floor. Probably, maybe even worse, maybe his head would have hit the other table and kind of snapped his neck back a little bit more. I don't know. That spot could have been very, very much worse than it was already. But as you can see here, Matthew Justice was fine. Maybe a little busted open in the head there. But yeah, and then they kind of cut to the ending here. I'm guessing probably because at that point, what more do you have to give? You've already broken the building. Let's run that again. Here's Josh Bishop taking Matthew Justice with a power bomb from the bleachers through a table, and Josh Bishop is the winner of this match. It was a good match. I mean, a fun match. A Chicago street fight. Obviously, there's always going to be stuff that like the street fight's always going to get the crowd going and everything like that. And that spot where Justice nearly killed himself was insane. Um, Next match, Matt Riddle, who got a lot of heat. The rude dude is very much not liked by the MLW audience anymore. And who knows? Some of it's related to his past. Some of it's related to whatever. I'm not really here to judge any of that. I do think there's Matt Riddle in figure form, and there's Killer Cross, and these two are wrestling for the MLW Championship. I'm not one to like. I don't know the full story. Nobody knows the full story. I feel like there was some bad things that happened with him in the past, but I don't really. I don't know. Either way, as a performer, Matt Riddle feels like he's kind of. I don't want to say he's lost a step because he looked pretty decent in the ring, but man, I don't know if his core focus in life is on wrestling anymore. Like it just feels like he's got a lot going on and just I don't know. But MLW likes him, pushing him, gave him a title shot against Killer Cross. And, at the end of the day, the crowd was into the match. Matt Riddle got a lot of heel reactions. Sometimes the worst reaction is no reaction. So even if you're getting hated, uh, maybe you're doing something right. I don't know. I don't want to say he's doing anything right, but I don't know. I don't blame MLW for wanting to put Matt Riddle in this spot, especially when he's on your roster. But it feels like there's something weird happening there at the same time. Not really my place to speak on it though. Um, but the match ended in a draw because of Alexander Hammerstone interfering. So it looks like we got this is going to be the future, at least for the near future of the MLW heavyweight title, which honestly is a heavyweight title picture doesn't have me thrilled. Not the biggest. I don't hate any of these wrestlers at all or anything like that. I'm not one of those people like JD from New York who's going to talk shit about wrestlers or whatever. But do I care to really watch any of these three perform in the year 2026? They're not my cup of tea. That's fine. Everybody's got their own flavor of ice cream that they enjoy. The Alexander Hammerstone, Killer Cross, Matt Riddle flavor is like Spumoni, I guess, is not really for me. But you know what? There's going to be people that do get excited over this. I think, or I hope, or at least MLW hopes. So that was the end of that match. Okamura, they did an intermission after that, which makes sense. Even though it was already running late as a show, but there were some meet and greets that they had to do for Shotzi and stuff like that, so they had to do it. Okamura came out for a match, took on Victor Inestra, I believe is how you pronounce his name. First time seeing him as a wrestler. It was a quick kind of squash match, nothing super exciting happening there. Just Okamura getting the win. That's all that matters. Next match is Neon taking on Soberano Jr., who was very over with the ladies. The ladies love them Soberano Jr. There's Neon jumping through the ropes there. Yeah, fun match, good lucha action. This finally got the crowd like, I mean, after intermission, you had the Okamura match. That was just kind of like the hey, everybody get back in your seats because intermission was 15 minutes, but it takes a while to navigate through Cicero Stadium. There's only like one set of stairs downstairs to the lunchroom and the bathrooms and everything. It's kind of a poorly laid out venue, and everybody kind of has to go in the same direction at the same time. So it makes sense that they did just a really like a quick kind of squash match to kind of add an extra 5 minutes to intermission. But then this really got the crowd into it. The crowd loved Soberano Jr. and they loved Neon. Both these guys were super over. Don't really have a lot of other notes for this match, but Soberano Jr. ended up picking up the win over Neon, which I was okay with. I mean, I really didn't have a horse in the race, but it was a good match, and that's all you can ask for. Next match, Blair Onyx came out, which was kind of shocking, but she made her MLW, I believe it was her MLW debut, taking on Scarlett Bordeaux, which another kind of quick match. It was probably like 3 minutes or so. Scarlett ended up getting the win, obviously, here. But a good showing out of Blair Onyx, who was Chicago area wrestling. She wrestles in Milwaukee sometimes, whatever. She's a mainstay in the area, though. But Scarlett got the win over her, and it was a decent, another kind of squashy match, but that's cool. Next match, Alexander Hammerstone came out and faced Ultimo Guerrero, who Ultimo Guerrero was super over with the crowd. This video is sideways, exciting. There he is jumping into the crowd. Yeah, Ultimo Guerrero is a huge babyface reaction for him. Alexander Hammerstone did end up picking up the win over him. He hit the pendulum thing. Here's Hammerstone. He hit the pendulum thing on him, and it really didn't look great, though. I don't know if this part of it was because he was doing it to a 55-year-old Ultimo Guerrero or what was going on. But needless to say, that match happened. Ultimo Guerrero being over made that match far more exciting than it really was. Just because, again, Harrison's not really my cup of tea. Don't have anything against the guy. I think he's a good dude, but when it comes to his wrestling, I don't know. It just seems like he's gotten a little too like muscular that it's kind of restricted a lot of his other movements. Whatever. I'm not one to criticize. He's a much better wrestler than I am. So just giving my kind of feedback or analysis. Next match. Now this was interesting. Bishop Dyer came out again to wrestle because we needed more Bishop Dyer. No, I'm just kidding. He's fine. He came out and he faced Cruel, which Cruel apparently was the monster that Shotzi was hunting for. Now the whole thing was kind of weird because Shotzi was like kind of like my monster, very like Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein-y, with her monster, but like it kind of felt like that should have been a heel thing, but it was a babyface thing because Cruel had just broken away from Contra at the last show, and it felt weird like that she was coming out with him and she was all like my monster, and then like they're baby faces at the same time. I don't know. It's a weird dynamic. I don't know. We'll see where this goes. I think those two together are fine. It was just like it was weird and it was kind of unexplained other than the monster line. And it just felt kind of random and whatever. But maybe there's some stuff on MLW Fusion that will explain the gaps in logic there. That could be fine. But either way, so Cruel ended up beating Bishop Dyer. The skyscrapers, obviously, here you can see they tried to choke slam Shotzi, but but Cruel broke out of the zip ties that he was barely in on the ropes, and then he turns out the Good Brothers actually ended up coming out, and then they were drinking as you can see in his left hand there, they were drinking the Don Gato tequila, getting that sponsorship over some more on their broadcast. And Cruel just like literally did not pick up his mask and just poured it all over his mask and all over his body and leaving big pools of Don Gato in the ring. Next match, Austin Aries took on Blue Panther for the National Openweight Championship. Austin Aries also was getting a very strong heel reaction as well, taking on the legendary Blue Panther. This was a pretty short match. See if we get it here. But yeah, as you can see here with the Austin Aries figure, Austin Aries ended up winning the championship from Blue Panther, which again, another one of those MLW making their championships. Here's Cruel from before. MLW making their championships on their own talent, which not necessarily a bad thing at all. I think if you're going to run a wrestling company like this, it makes more sense to kind of like, hey, we're doing a new direction of this company. Let's showcase our guys instead of CMLL guys, instead of Tokyo Joshi Pro wrestlers. Like, hey, let's show the world what our best wrestlers are. Now, are their best wrestlers Austin Aries? I don't know. I guess so. But I think the interesting dynamic about this match is clearly with Blue Panther and Diego Hill's relationship, they definitely set up potential. Probably, I don't know if it's going to be soon, if it's going to be later, but I could definitely see Austin Aries passing this title on to Diego Hill after having a little bit of a rivalry here and helping get over a new younger talent on the roster, which ultimately is the point of like a wrestling show like this, is they should be putting over a Diego Hill, and I think they're going to get to that point. It's just those growing pains of having Austin Aries as your champion, whether if you don't like him, or if you do, but yeah. Next match, Lily Ruiz came out, and this picture is sideways, but she took on Zamaya, who is, I think she worked the Battle Riot tapings for MLW Fusion. There's a better picture of Zamaya. But they seem to like Zamaya. I hadn't really heard of her before this match, and I didn't really get more footage of this because the match was pretty quick. But another kind of quick, squashy kind of match. But Zamaya got the win here, and yeah, really an interesting presence. Very my buddy who was at the show with Chico, he was very, very into Zamaya. I just must have tickled something in his brain or elsewhere. But anyways, yeah, Zamaya was definitely an interesting wrestler to watch and an interesting. Uh, I could see good things coming for her in MLW. Hopefully, things progress there, and I think she's on a good platform there. So, looking forward to seeing more from Zamaya in MLW. The last match, the main event, the go home. We got Templario with his giant sword. It really is a giant sword. I don't know how he gets, like, maybe it like folds in. How does he get that through the airport? I don't know. Taking on Templario took on Mystico, and Mystico, yeah, we got a second Mystico match, which, I'm never going to complain about getting two Mystico matches in a night. That's good stuff right there. And we got the Mystico Tope Suicida special there. I love the way he does it, where he uses the ropes kind of like as a launching pad to get extra momentum. Just such a smooth wrestler. There's Templario walking the ropes and hitting a drop kick. Good stuff. Good lucha libre action. My only complaint about this match is there's a weird sequence where I don't know what was going on. But they literally ran back. It felt like maybe not move for move, but there was a lot of moves that a lot of these guys ended up doing two times. It felt like either they were trying to like reshoot something, which makes no sense because there's nothing that was really wrong with anything that they did. Or they just needed to kill an extra 5 minutes and they're just like, hey, let's just kind of run back doing this stuff over again. I don't really know. It was kind of weird. I noticed it. Both the other two people that I drove to the show with noticed it as well. But yeah, it was kind of weird that they kind of did some things twice. Like here we got the Mystico Tope again, and if it ever loads. But yeah, it just felt kind of weird in that regard. But otherwise, I I can't complain about seeing a good Mystico match. It either felt like they had to add time to the match, or they just didn't have much of a plan for things, and they were just calling on the fly, and they just got stuck in a time loop. It wasn't. It was a different type of tope there. I'm sorry, but or they just wanted to try to make the match extra special for the people in the crowd. I'm not really 100% sure, but here's Mystico winning it with La Mystica and tapping out Templario. And then he cut a promo after the show. Don Gatto got in the ring, and those are my Bluntman and Chronic figures, which you don't need for this purposes. But hey, overall, a really solid show. I had a good time. It went like 4 hours. Crowd started dipping as the show went on, which is kind of crazy that like people were literally leaving during a Mystico match. But I mean, at the same time, it was 11:30. Some people got kids, people got babysitters, people got to get the train before the train stops. I don't know if that's the case. I don't really take the Chicago train, but overall, really solid show. MLW is coming back to Chicago in November, as they were supposed to be here in November, but they ended up pushing the show back to February for some reason. But yeah, I enjoy these shows quite a bit. Are they like the Are they 5-star wrestling shows? Not necessarily. I mean, you do get some good wrestlers, like especially like getting two Mystico matches is always awesome. But at the same time, like, hey, for $13 for GA, like it's a steal of a deal. So yeah, if MLW is in your neighborhood, I highly recommend it. You get to see some blasts from the past, you get to do some cool meet and greets, and you get a lot of wrestling. I don't know how many matches there was, probably like 12 or 13, I think, on the show. And nothing was actively bad. Trying to think of like what the worst match on the show was. Like you'd probably say one of the squash matches, just because there really wasn't a lot of substance there. But like ultimately, if that's the biggest kind of nitpick that you have about a show, that like, hey, the worst match was a squash match and everything else was pretty good, that's a win at the end of the day in my book. So thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. Like and subscribe to this channel. I plan on, obviously, I'll be going to more wrestling events as time goes on. I got another one coming up here in 2 weeks, which I will probably do one of these about when I get back. I'm not going to spoil what it is, but if you look at your calendar and you look at 2 weeks and what's in the area, you might have some idea. In the meantime, I got more opening stuff. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. I don't know when it's gonna, or maybe Monday. It would depend on when it gets here. But yeah, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. I know this one was a little long, but there's a lot of stuff to cover on this show. Hopefully, MLW is okay with me covering all of it because I did. But ultimately, it's all out of love for the game. And thanks to MLW for putting on a solid show. And thanks to all of you for watching. I will see you sometime in the very, very near future. Thanks. Bye. Mystical.